Okay, let's talk about probably the most common, most ordinary hero in your kitchen, the potato. But hang on. Before you think of fries or mashed potatoes, I want you to completely forget that. See, if you were a peasant in Europe just a few hundred years back and you found one of these on your doorstep, that wasn't a gift. Oh no, that was a curse, a terrifying one. So that's the big question, right? How did this humble little tuber get a reputation as the devil's fruit? I mean, we're talking about a plant that people thought caused leprosy, that was banned by law, that was considered food only for prisoners. And yet, this same exact plant went on to save a continent from starving and secretly fueled the entire Industrial Revolution. It's an incredible story, and today we're digging up its forbidden history. All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at its cursed beginning. Then we'll get into the wild mind games that royalty used to make it popular. After that, we'll talk about its secret weapon, revolution-creating calories. And finally, we'll explore the tragedy and the legacy it left behind. Ready? Let's get into it.
So, Part 1, A Cursed Beginning. From an Andean deity to a European demon, and that title really says it all. Our story doesn't start in Europe, you see. It starts way up high, in the freezing cold slopes of the Andes Mountains. Think modern-day Peru and Bolivia. And it's here that the potato's reputation goes through probably one of the most dramatic flips in all of history. Just look at this contrast. In the Inca Empire, where people had been cultivating it for like 8,000 years, the potato was, well, it was everything. I mean, it wasn't just their staple food. It was so central to their lives, they even used it to measure time. Yeah, you heard that right. An Inca unit of time was basically how long it took to boil a potato. It was a deeply respected crop. But then, the Spanish conquistadors show up, and they bring it back to Europe in the 1570s. And the reaction? Pure, absolute horror. People were terrified of it. It had survived a journey across the ocean, but its biggest fight was just beginning, the one against European superstition. So why were they so scared? What was the big deal? Well, it basically boiled down to a few things. First off, science. Kind of. Botanically, the potato is in the same family as some seriously poisonous plants, like deadly nightshade. For people back then, that was a huge red flag. Family resemblance meant it was probably just as evil. Second, and this was a big one, it's not mentioned anywhere in the Bible. And the logic was, well, if God didn't mention it and it grows underground in the dark, it's got to be the work of the devil, right? That's where all these wild rumors started swirling. People genuinely believed it could give you leprosy or uncontrollable lust, just crazy stuff. Okay, on to our next chapter, The Crown's Mind Game. This is all about how some clever heroes changed the world's mind. And believe me, they had their work cut out for them. The fear got so bad that in 1748, the French Parliament actually made it illegal to grow potatoes, banned them completely. But then something started to change. Terrible famines were sweeping across Europe, and a few very smart, very influential people started to look at this so-called demonic plant and think, maybe, just maybe, this thing is actually a miracle. Take King Frederick the Great of Prussia, for example. He came up with this absolutely brilliant plan. It was pure reverse psychology. So here's what he did. First, he planted these huge royal fields of potatoes. Next, he surrounded them with his most elite, heavily armed soldiers, making it look like the most valuable treasure in the kingdom. But, and here's the genius part, he gave those guards a secret command. If anyone tries to steal the potatoes, let them. Just turn a blind eye. And it worked like a charm. People saw this crop being guarded so fiercely and thought, whoa, whatever's in that field must be incredibly valuable. It must be food for the king. So they started stealing the potatoes at night, taking them home and planting them for themselves. Before you know it, the potato was all over Prussia. And over in France, the potato found its own champion, a guy named Antoine Parmentier. Now, Parmentier knew firsthand how amazing potatoes were because he'd survived on them as a prisoner of war in Prussia. So he comes back to France on a mission. He starts throwing these super lavish high society dinners where every single dish was made from potatoes. He even got Benjamin Franklin to come to one. But his real masterstroke, his game-changing move, he convinced the king and queen, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, to wear potato flowers as a fashion accessory. Suddenly, this lowly tuber was royal, it was chic, it was fashionable. And once the aristocrats decided it was cool, everyone else followed. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin for the old superstitions. All right, next up, revolution-creating calories, the hidden power that fueled a new world. So now the potato is finally accepted, right? The fear's gone.
But Europe was about to find out that this plant's real power went way beyond just stopping famines. We're talking about a force that was about to completely reshape the entire world. And this is where things get kind of scientific, but it's super important. The potato isn't just a vegetable, it's a calorie-producing machine. Just look at this. For every acre of land you plant, you get almost 3 times more calories from potatoes than you would from traditional grains like wheat. 3 times. That simple, incredible fact is what changed everything.
Because think about what that efficiency means. It's not just about stopping starvation anymore. It means you can support a much, much larger population. And that's exactly what happened. Europe's population absolutely exploded. And all those extra people, they became the workers who filled the factories and the new cities of the Industrial Revolution. So you see, the potato was like this hidden battery pack, providing the raw human energy that literally powered the birth of our modern world. And that brings us to our final section, tragedy and legacy. Because for all its success, this story has a really dark side, a serious cautionary tale. The potato's incredible triumph led to a really dangerous dependency, and nowhere was that more obvious and more tragic than in Ireland. In 1845, the villain of our story arrives. It came from the Americas, and it was microscopic. Its name is Phytophthora infestans, but you might know it as late blight. It's basically this fungus-like organism that is terrifyingly effective. It can take a perfectly healthy field of potato plants and turn it into a black, slimy, rotting mess in just a matter of days.
Now, here's the critical problem. In 19th century Ireland, people weren't just dependent on the potato. They were dependent on one single type of potato. It was called the lumper. That's all they grew. So there was no genetic variety, no biodiversity to act as a firewall. It was a classic monoculture. And when the blight arrived, it was like a predator finding a field of perfectly identical, defenseless victims. The entire food supply just gone, wiped out, seemingly overnight. The result was a catastrophe on a scale that's hard to even imagine. More than 1 million people died. They died from starvation and from the diseases that prey on weakened bodies. We know it today as the Great Famine. And even that wasn't the end of it. On top of the 1 million who died, another 2 million people were forced to leave Ireland just to survive. They emigrated, creating this huge wave that scattered the Irish people all over the world, forever changing the cultures and the populations of countries like the United States, Canada, and Australia. You know, this awful tragedy taught us a lesson in the most painful way possible. It proved just how vital biodiversity is for our food security. Relying on just one crop, a monoculture, it's an incredibly dangerous gamble. It's a lesson we still have to remember today.
So where does that leave the potato now? Well, today, the curse is well and truly lifted. It's the 4th largest food crop in the entire world, right after wheat, maize, and rice. We're talking more than 370 million tons produced every single year. It's an absolutely essential food for people in over 130 countries.
So the next time you're looking at a potato, whether you're about to make fries or just see it in the grocery store, just take a second and remember its incredible story. Remember the sheer terror it once inspired and the unbelievable power it held to shape our world. Which leaves us with one final question to think about. Is the potato just a simple side dish, or is it actually a history-changing miracle?